What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards of Comics here for our first weekly, maybe? Not sure how this is going to flow yet. Non-sports cards slash Marvel cards slash comic book, whatever you want to call it. Weekly news slash market update, all that sort of stuff. It's basically a non-sport version of the normal Sunday weekly video that we do. Going to try this out, like I said, see. I don't know if it'll be weekly, bi-weekly. We'll just kind of see how things feel, maybe monthly. I don't know. But for right now, we'll give weekly a whirl and see how she plays out. I'm recording this before all the football games are played on Sunday, so I don't know what happened yet. Flying dark. So if anything crazy happened, that's why I'm not talking about it yet. But let's go ahead and dive in. News-wise, there was a bunch of D23 stuff over the weekend. I'm not going to spend a ton of time digging into that. There wasn't anything that wild, I think, besides getting the Thunderbolts lineup. There was some cool Star Wars stuff, but like I'm going to swing a comic book market perspective. Listen, it doesn't take much on the comic book side of things to swing things, but there was no major announcements, which was what people were looking for. So I'm sure things will shift, but I don't think there was anything like super crazy to run and go after. On the comic card side of things, we kind of touched on this on the live stream earlier last week. CGC, which is now grading Marvel cards, and this was one of the things that I was super hopeful that they were going to do. So for those that aren't familiar, CGC is the #1 comic book grader. They just started grading Marvel cards through their CGC trading card division, which previously graded a lot of Pokemon, TCG, that sort of stuff. CGC comic book side, they have signers in all the time. They have artists in, they have actors and actresses in a lot, where they bring them down to Florida, have them sign, and then they grade and encapsulate the piece for you, typically a comic book. So in this case, Todd McFarlane would go down there, sign a bunch of, Todd McFarlane books. They would grade them, yellow label them because it's a witness signature, send them back to you. It takes weeks, months, whatever. But they would have actors come in. They would have Elizabeth Olsen go in there. They would have, Haley Steinfeld. There's been a ton of different people that have gone through those doors to sign stuff, and it was always comic books. But now that CGC is offering Marvel card grading, you can send cards. So you'll be able to send McFarlane cards down to CGC in Florida. He'll sign them, they'll grade them, and send them back to you with a yellow label. I am pretty excited about this. I like McFarlane, don't get me wrong. Fantastic covers. Some of my favorite covers are his. Some of my favorite Spider-Man artwork is his. I am more excited about the future potential of what this could lead to than I am specifically this McFarlane signing. Am I going to send stuff? Yes. It is $125 an item. But that includes the signature and grading, encapsulation, the whole nine. So not super cheap, but not, super, super expensive in the grand scheme of things when you really think about it. Because you're paying to have the card graded, this, that, and the other thing. Especially probably paying about $100 for the signature on it and the witnessing, which is fine. I don't know exactly how many things I'm gonna send. McFarlane does typically have some pretty strict rules on what he will and will not sign, so you can't just, I believe anyways, and please double check me on this because it may have changed. Essentially, he had to draw it or create it, but I believe for the artwork, it's something that he actually had to draw. So you will need to send a card of Venom per se. That is his actual artwork on the card. Now, he has a couple sets out there, comic images sets from 89, 90, so on. I think there might even be a third one. So there's plenty of cards out there, but there's nothing super modern. The most modern, easily attainable one is probably going to be the Venom High series from SpiderMan Metal. That is McFarlane artwork. It's from his first appearance. Actually, I'm planning on sending one of those in. I have a base Venom from the High series that I am planning on sending in for that, along with some other stuff that I have. So I'm not exactly sure how many I'm going to send in yet. I'm thinking maybe 5. It's a little expensive. I don't know that I want to go that crazy, but I would at least like 1 or 2 to keep and then have a couple to possibly sell later on down the line. So, but once again, I am more interested in this from the long-term perspective of, a Jim Lee coming through the door and being able to send a bunch of 92 X-Men in, or actors and actresses of characters sending in like 90 MU of, I don't know, I doubt they would ever get Robert Downey Jr. to do it again, but let's say they got RDJ in the door and you sent 90 MU to have him sign. I just think that would be really, really cool to have and unique. Speaking of Marvel cards, let's dig into upcoming releases. One of the questions I got a lot during the SpiderMan Metal breaks of the boxes that I opened was, because what I would comment was, I pre-ordered my boxes for about $190 a piece months and months and months ago. And people were like, how'd you get them so cheap? Where did you get them from? So most of my Marvel pre-orders, I usually do at Dave & Adams or Steel City. There's very few, and these are 2 of the largest, that very few online retailers that are allowed to do pre-orders of Upper Deck. Upper Deck has this whole situation where they are extremely restrictive on who is allowed to pre-sale their product. I don't know all the intricacies of it, but needless to say, there's a bunch of rules for it, which means very few people can. So those are usually the 2 best places to get a jump on it. Now, my Marvel Beginnings pre-order, I actually have at Steel City. I have 5 boxes, I believe, at $160 a box or $150 a box, give or take. I probably placed that 3 or 4 months ago. They weren't up on Dave & Adams yet. They came on Steel City first, so I just pre-ordered them on Steel City. Currently, they're all the way up to $240 already. So if you're looking to get into something lower entry and you want to kind of get in on it now, these are out there. I don't know when they're going to release yet. That's the other thing that's kind of sketchy when it comes to Marvel cards is right now, the release dates are all jacked up and pretty much no one knows when anything is coming. There's some MCU product coming as well. I don't usually pay super close attention to that as I'm not a big MCU card collector guy, other than maybe some actor autos would intrigue me. But just generally speaking, I'm not a big in the MCU product, but there is a Lure coming, which is an MCU product, Into the Spider-Verse, which is cartoon-based, and a WandaVision set coming as well, but I have not looked into any of that product at all. Marvel Beginnings, for those that aren't aware, is kind of like a lower end. It's not Marvel Annual level. It's like a step above that, but it is a lower end product. Has a huge base set. There will be, it says volume 1 because there'll actually be 3 volumes of this to make the entire base set. So this is your set collector, mammoth undertaking. But there will be some cool inserts, some cool parallels and whatnot in here. So I'm excited to get those boxes to open up and kind of see how it goes. But I have 5 of those pre-ordered right now. The one that's getting the most buzz, I've talked about it a ton, is Flir Ultra Avengers. As of right now, these are sitting at $370 a box. I have 12 of these total pre-ordered for full disclosure. 6 at $300 a box, 6 at $350 a box. So I'm now up to a full case, essentially, of Flir Ultra Avengers. Shortly after SpiderMan Metal release, they jumped from $350 to $370. I would probably, I don't want to like future predict here too hard. I would imagine that these are going to keep creeping up. Probably every few weeks, most likely. They'll probably jump up a little bit, especially as hype for SpiderMan Metal slowly slows down. If that makes sense. More people will turn their attention to this. I know part of the equation that I kind of ran through my head was, do I want to buy a couple boxes of I debated on buying more boxes of SpiderMan Metal just to sit on. And when I ran the numbers, you know, those are $650 to $700 a box now. We'll talk about SpiderMan Metal sealed here in a second. I would just rather basically get almost, especially at the time that I bought them, essentially 2 boxes of Flir Ultra Avengers for every box of SpiderMan Metal. Now, Flir Ultra Avengers is not going to have PMGs in it, but it is going to have jambalayas in it, and it is going to have a bunch of other cool stuff in it. Original artwork as well on the base cards. and in theory, fingers crossed, better QC, so hopefully better grading potential. I may actually, depending on kind of how things go and what I run into, I may actually look to even get a couple more boxes of this if it comes up, and depending on what the old financial situation is in terms of what I want to put into this product in addition to this. But this will be the next, I shouldn't say next, because I don't know when this is coming in relation to some of the other product coming out, but this will probably be the next hyped Marvel set, in my opinion. It's the next headliner. It's designed as a higher end product. Like I said, it has jambalayas in it. No PMGs, because they didn't want to water down PMGs. So I think this is going to be a pretty popular set. Is it going to get the SpiderMan Metal level in regards to box pricing? I don't think so. Because one, it's not Spider-Man, and two, there's no PMGs. But I do think it continues to creep up. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets easily over $400 a box by the time release rolls around, if not higher. We'll see. Time will tell on that one. Like I said, predictions sure to go wrong. SpiderMan Metal, where do we sit right now? Like I said, about $650 a box, $640. I've seen some auctions ending higher than that. In fact, I'm recording this early Sunday morning. There were auctions running for $650. Now, I don't know if this will still be the case, but if you are looking for SpiderMan Metal hobby boxes, there were 2 on my slabs for $625 or best offer. Now, how much lower they're willing to go, I don't know. But even the $625 price is less than most buy it nows on eBay. So don't forget, check out my slabs for sealed wax. We've been talking SpiderMan Metal to death around here. At $650 a box, it's definitely not worth ripping. We'll get into some single prices here in a minute. But to be quite honest with you, most of the numbered cards you hit out of there, you're not going to make your money back on unless you hit an ultra key character. Even some key characters in reds are not selling for $600 a piece. People are trying to sell them for that much, but if you wait out auctions, you could get them much cheaper. Now, anything Spider-Man, Venom, Carnage, Spider-Gwen, all that stuff, really big hits. You'll do really well on it in any of the numbered parallels. Even, I saw a Spider-Man Pink out of 75. One of the Spider-Man images, I think it was the low series, went for like $700. That's a massive card to pull, and it essentially sold for the price of the box. Is what it is. The contents of the box do not always equal what the box sells for. How do I think this product's going to hold up? Is this like a WWE Prism situation? No, I don't think so. These box prices, I think, are going to stay steady to slowly creep up. E-Pack is coming sooner rather than later. That's Upper Deck's digital version of this. I don't know what they're going to get priced at on there. Probably a lot cheaper. Probably between, I'm going to say 300. Let's say 300 a box. On there, you don't get the physical cards in regards to base, but you do get the hits and anything that you make an achievement out of. You can have that stuff shipped home through ComC. What's going to happen is these box prices, at least what I think is going to happen, these box prices are going to flatten out and kind of sit, probably creep up towards $700. E-Pack's going to come. E-Pack's going to get wiped out in like a weekend, maybe a week tops. I don't even think it lasts that long. And then the money will probably shift back to physical. And these boxes are going to continue to dry up, and the prices are going to continue to creep up, creep up, creep up. From a sealed wax perspective, I do think this is a pretty decent hold. Where they go and how high they cap out at, I don't know. I know X-Men metal boxes sell for about $700 a box, and that is a much inferior product to Spider-Man Metal. I still wouldn't mind. I still like the idea of trying to pick up a box or two of this to hang on to, but I don't know. I think the ship's passed by now. Blasters. The retail component of Spider-Man Metal sitting at about 50 to 55. I see here's a $49.99. Buy it now. Sitting. These retail for $30 at Target, Walmart, Barnes and Nobles, etc. This right now, secondary market wise, is probably a good time to buy, especially if you could find auctions. I still wouldn't pay $50 for one of these. I think 40 is the sweet spot. And right now is probably a good opportunity because everyone just got their Target orders in. So the market is going to be flooded. Typically what you see with sports card wax, when it first hits the market, it's coming out to stores. The online orders start coming in. People got their bot orders in. It all hits the market because people want to pay off the credit card. They need the money back to pay off the credit card that they put it on. So they're happy making their $5 or $10 a box because they're selling in so much volume after fees, shipping, taxes, the whole 9 yards. They'll make their $5 or $10 a blaster because they're selling so much volume. It actually ends up being a pretty decent profit for them. But that floods the market and drives prices down. After that wave moves through, and it usually takes a few weeks, supply starts to dry up a little bit and prices slowly start to increase. I don't think blasters are going to go super, super crazy like the hobby boxes. There's no numbered parallels in them. Yeah, you can get platinum portraits. Yeah, you can get sketch cards, but they're nearly impossible to hit. The yellow FX, golds, and grandiosas are your most reliable hits out of them. I've opened like 6 or 7 of them now, and I haven't got any other extra inserts. I've not hit a Palladium. I've not hit a Daily Bugle, any of that stuff. And that stuff's going to be super cheap as well, especially once all this stuff gets ripped on e-pack. So if you're looking to rip, if you're just looking to have a fun rip, you can't get your hands on a hobby box. It's too expensive, but you want a set collect or whatever, and you kind of want to do it through ripping packs. Try to find blasters, like I said. If you can get them for around $40, that's fine. Someone else did the legwork for you. You don't have to waste a bunch of gas and time. Perfectly acceptable. I ordered 9 blasters from Target. I got those in this weekend. I opened 1. I'm going to just sit on the other 8. I'm going to stick them in a tote, and then we'll just kind of sit back there, and I'll just kind of see what happens with them. If I decide to end up ripping them, I might end up ripping them. But don't go crazy on spending tons of money on sealed blasters on the secondary market. There's a chance they could perform well just sitting on them long term. I'm going to take a little bit of a risk with the 8 that I have, but it's whatever. I would be perfectly happy ripping those at some point in time. But I don't know that I'm willing to run out and pay secondary market prices to potentially sit on it. At that point, I would rather just try to get, if you wanted to buy and sit on sealed wax, I would potentially just try to get to an actual hobby box, or, as we talked about, maybe just go look at some boxes of Flir Ultra Avengers. That's where I'm kind of at with it. Let's talk single prices really quick here. Green PMGs are going absolutely bonkers from this set. There are some ridiculously high sales. Here's Ghost Spider at $7K, Scarlet Spider at 6.5, one at 6.2. What else do we have down here? Another Gwen at 6K. This Spider-Man got listed a couple days ago. Someone put it up, buy it now, at 4.9, and it got immediately slammed. This got listed way too cheap. This is probably, and this card was beat up, it still got listed way too cheap. This is probably at least a 7 or 8K card if I had to guess, with the greens being only out of 10. Even a Black Widow here, 4K. Character collectors are going to gobble these things up to try to get them because you never know when they're going to see the market again. A lot of this stuff will be locked away on e-pack. We'll kind of see how it goes. The greens are the monster of monsters. Reds are selling okay-ish. Once again, it really needs to be a key character to kind of get your value back out of it. A couple interesting one-off sales. This comic cut sold. Absolutely gorgeous comic cut from ASM 252, which is the first appearance of the black suit. Stunning looking card. Got listed for $1,500. Sold for $900. Best offer. Buy it now. I saw this pop up the day it got listed, and I was like, man, I'm not a comic cut guy, but if I was, this would be one that I would go after. Just an absolutely gorgeous looking card. Let's shift over and talk about some Star Wars cards really quickly. I mentioned this one on Twitter and on the YouTube community page. Stellar Pedro Pascal came up to market. One of these really has not come up. I did see, which I missed this. I would have hit buy it now immediately on it. Someone listed a green at $1,400 a couple weeks ago, and someone pounded to buy it now on that thing immediately. These never surface. For anyone that's not aware, this is from Star Wars Stellar on-card autos. Pedro Pascal hasn't signed anything really for the last few years, and there's rumors swirling that he just may be done signing outside of like the redemptions that Topps has left. Don't know. That's like, rumor mill territory. But regardless, these never come to market. This is the base Stellar out of 40. Nice looking card. I prefer the green or the blue, but this is still pretty nice looking. It's almost kind of like a color match. This went for $1,900. This just ended a couple days ago. I actually slightly considered bidding on this. I actually thought it would go a little bit higher. I thought it would get over 2K, but still a very, very strong price. Probably the fourth most expensive character in Star Wars when it comes to Stellar, with Hamill, Fisher, and Harrison Ford being the top three. And then Natalie Portman's stuff would also actually be above Pedro's. Her stuff sells extremely, extremely well. But just wanted to note this because, like I said, these do not come up really often. And from an actor on-card auto perspective, Stellars are absolutely gorgeous. By the way, don't grade these things. Just keep them in the mag sealed. It's not worth it. Not worth it. Let's dip over, talk about comic books really quick. This is something a friend of the channel, Swaggle Comics and Games, he put together a silver-aged and bronze-aged index. So kind of like the Market Pulse stuff that we do in Market Movers, where it's like a group of cards and index fund, essentially. He put something together like this for Silver Age comics and Bronze Age comics, just to kind of get a general overall what is the market doing type of thing. And this is he put this video up the other day. I'll link to it in the description down below, where he kind of goes over what the data looked like. There was one very interesting takeaway that he had, and I kind of agree, that we'll look at on both the Bronze and Silver Age chart. This is a Silver Age chart. So you can see here, going all the way back to 2018, kind of just generally speaking, how the Silver Age market moved. You can see he has his top trend line and his bottom trend line. This is where things got nutty in the old COVID days and everything spiked up. And then you can see the market cooled and things are dipping back down again. What he noted, and I agree, find interesting, is the market is still dipping a little bit, but you could see it's getting very, very close to coming in line with the trend line from back 18, 19. Like the way the market was essentially going, what he's essentially saying is, let's pretend COVID never happened. Most likely, the market index would have continued along this path, assuming, no outside factors. In this case, COVID happened, boom, to the moon. But the market is correcting back down into that trend line range, which could kind of tell us that maybe we've kind of are starting to not quite get to the bottom, but almost there, or right about there. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see how this moves over the next month or two. Does it dip way below that, or does it kind of filter in and then slowly start creeping back up again? This is his Bronze Aged one. Once again, you see the same thing. From 18 all the way up in the end of 2020, early 2021, it basically stayed inside those boundaries. 2021 happened, everything went to the moon, the market is corrected and pulled back, and now we see it touching off the top trend line of the Bronze Age index. Now, I expect Bronze Age to be a little bit, and you do see it here, a much wider gap of where the prices could go. And that makes sense. These are more high pop books. Could be much more swingier compared to the Silver Age, where it's a lot more older stuff, much more like blue chip keys. A lot of blue chip keys come from the Silver Age. That stuff has much higher floors. So I would expect a little bit wider variance here. But once again, very interesting that these markets seem to have kind of come back down into their trend lines and are starting to touch off the high end of the trend line. Once again, I would highly recommend going and checking out his channel, this video, and the series of videos that he has done on this index over the last few months. Absolutely great information, both from a collecting standpoint, investing standpoint, speculating standpoint. So let's wrap it up there. I was going to touch on some Magic the Gathering stuff, but we're running a little bit long, so maybe we'll do that next time. If you have any questions, concerns, leave them in the comments down below. Let me know how you think this kind of played out as a first time through. Curious for your thoughts. Obviously, it was a little SpiderMan Metal heavy, as that's kind of the big newsy thing right now. But come along for the ride. We will catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.